Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Well, by now, we've all heard of the movie The Sound of Freedom, which brings to light the horrific practice of child sex trafficking. It's a difficult subject for us to process, and yet it is the reality of our society today. Some of you may have seen this woman named Tara Rodas testifying before lawmakers. My husband brought her to my attention because some of what she shared in her testimony reminded him of a word I had received back in 2020. For those of you who don't know, Ms. Rodas worked with the Biden administration in 2021 as part of Operation Artemis at an intake site at the southern border in California, where children were supposedly being reunited with sponsors. She described what she witnessed happening. The children are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with being recruited in home country, smuggled to the U.S. border, and ends when ORR delivers a child to a sponsor. She then adds, whether intentional or not, it can be argued that the U.S. government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation run by bad actors seeking to profit off the lives of children. Now, as I already mentioned, in 2020, the Lord spoke to me about this issue of child trafficking. He showed me that powerful people were not only involved in the perverse practice of child rape, but were the actual perpetrators in the buying and selling of children. He called it the ring on the hill. He talked about this uncovering and that America would begin to see it. He also said the second half of that year would be extremely difficult, which we now know was because of the election fallout. But then the Lord described a time when the truth would be brought forward about child sex trafficking in America that would cause a sense of mourning to cover the nation, as many came to the realization that not only are millions of children being exploited, but that it was happening largely in America. This is an excerpt from the word I just referenced called the ring on the hill. It's quite lengthy, so if you want to read the entire post, the link is in the description box below. This is what the Lord said. Then expect there to be fallout from this clash, which will negatively impact the already demoralized hearts of this people. For as the whole truth is revealed, most will have a hard time processing what they have heard, because the depths of depravity in which the elite in this country have engaged will come as quite a shock to many within the public. And as a result, this nation shall know a time of mourning, as their hearts grieve for the innocent lives that were sacrificed on the altar of evil, causing many to groan with the pangs of bitterness over what their leaders have done. The Lord spoke to me again just recently about this subject of child trafficking and issued a call to arms. And this is what I heard.
Oh, how easy it is to look the other way when the debased acts of the insidious are exposed, as then a certain level of denial can be claimed, when after all the subject matter is just too deplorable to entertain. And so it is that in willful ignorance many remain, for then instead of them, another bears the responsibility of standing against the sea of wickedness now coursing throughout this nation. Thus does darkness continue to flood in through this country's borders, since the firm line which used to define her perimeter is clearly blurred, making it much easier for those with nefarious intent to cross over with little concern of being apprehended. So while it is no secret amongst the American populace that through their southern border much evil is being trafficked, very few have raised any real objections to its ongoing occurrence, for to them, this is really an issue for government officials to handle. And so do they go about their business as if this form of vile behavior is not happening just beyond their own backyards. Yet because this issue of trafficking has roughly been ignored throughout America, like a weed, its roots have been permitted to spread and can now be found in many unexpected areas of society. As even in communities thought to have low crime, does this form of depravity exist, where children are exploited by the deviant and perverse for their own sinful gratification. Then And since those who swore to protect this nation's borders have gone back on their word, thus has evil been given permission to enter undeterred. For surely can quite a number who occupy America's political class be linked to this heinous criminal enterprise, as it is amongst these do the perverse dwell as well, having misused their position of power for personal gain, where political favor is exchanged for knowing the fulfillment of their own lustful desires. And so are children being traded like a commodity, only deriving any value from the amount of revenue they can generate on that market used by traffickers, bought and sold like lambs for the slaughter, as if their only purpose is to be sacrificed upon this altar of perversity. How long will America close its ears to the cries of these precious souls? Are there any among this nation who will take up their cause and fight? Or will your sudden indignation over this matter soon be stifled because the distractions of life pulled your attention away? Where then have all the honorable men gone? Those who have the moral integrity and inner fortitude to pick up this cross, who would willingly risk life and limb to defend the weak and the vulnerable. Are there any such as these left in America? Sadly, from where I am seated, there are very few. Hear me then, America. The hour is nigh when you must contend against this sea of darkness that has infiltrated your nation, yet not with the intentions of doing violence, as this form of action will not bring any lasting change. For the source of this evil actually lies in the unseen, and so it is in the spiritual realm that this demonic force must be fully rooted out of America's soil. Therefore, to arms, I say. Don your spiritual armor and begin to assault the spirit of perversion. Ask that I illuminate those areas where this darkness is held up in your local communities, and then bombard those strongholds with your warfare. Cry out again and again for those held captive by traffickers. Contend for both their physical and spiritual freedom, for only then shall they know true healing from their suffering and trauma. Then, turn the focus of your warfare upon your national borders, and ask that my hand moves to seal shut all ports of entry so that this sea of darkness no longer has easy access to this land. Pray then that those partnered with this market of human flesh on both sides of your borders are not only exposed, but brought to justice in the courts of man. America, do not turn a blind eye to this evil of trafficking, for it will not simply go away. Though it is difficult and even upsetting to consider the plight of these young souls, you must lay aside your own discomfort and remember that it is they who are actually experiencing the indescribable horrors of being trafficked. Therefore, take seriously this call to action and pray.
Thanks again for joining me today.